Hi, welcome to Game Creation, and today we're going to be thinking about, we're going to be thinking ahead. So one of the problems we have is that we have three different tiles. We've got grass, sand and water, and we want the player to walk through grass and sand, absolutely fine, but we don't want the player to walk through water, okay, so naturally. So what we can do is we can say, right, for our next video, we're going to be doing the collision detection. So our Friday one, we're going to be doing collision detection, but we're thinking ahead here. We can say, if the tile is water, don't let the player walk in it, which just seems logical. But the problem is, we're going to have loads and loads of different water tiles. We're going to have loads and loads of different graphics. And if we just code it now to say, oh, if it's water, if it's that specific water tile, don't let the player move, we're going to come into a lot of problems later on, because we're going to have to say, well, if it's that water tile or that water tile or that water tile, and suddenly we've got this horrible event editor full of all of these different water tiles, and every time we create a new water tile, like have a nice little duck there or something, then we're going to have to add that into the event editor. So what we want to do is we want to say, right, we want a list of all the ones the player cannot, under any circumstance, walk into, and lump them together. Now, there are loads and loads of different ways of doing this, but what I'm thinking of doing is using the array, and we're using the Z component of the array. So remember, all of the positions and stuff are in the 0 part, but we might want to, all of the tiles, are in the 0 part. So it's either 0, 1 or 2. If it's 0, it's grass. If it's 1, it's water. If it's 2, it's sand. So that tells us what tile we want loaded in the 0th Z column. Are you following me? I barely am. But what we want to do is say, okay, so it's C. That's interesting. But can you walk in C? And so that will be the Z index 1. So the Z index 1 will be, can you walk in it? And this could cause problems later on if you get a boat down the line, but I think that we want to lump all of the C tiles together. So perhaps we say, oh, this is a C tile, and if you've got a boat, you can walk in the C tile, etc., etc. So this is about us thinking ahead. At the moment, it's easier for us to say, oh no, we don't want to worry about that. Let's just say if it's a C tile. Well, this is going to be a real problem later on when we expand the graphics. So we want to just think a little bit ahead here about how we code this, because although we're trying to create a prototype and just a minimum viable product, we also want to keep an eye on making sure we're not having to code a whole load of stuff again down the line when we're ready to expand. For instance, we're able to move from 32 pixel tiles to 64 really quickly, so we didn't have to recode anything. I mean, you saw in Tuesday's video, I just changed the number and changed the virtual width and height, and that was it. And actually I could have coded it so the virtual width and height changed as well, but there's some things I don't mind redoing. So let's get started with the video. So we're in the same one as we loaded last time, and we want to just click on the frame. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, lump all these things together. Now, there isn't really a difference between grass and sand, really, at this point, for collision detection purposes. So we want to lump them together, and we want to call them, I don't know, 0. C tiles here, we want to call 1. So let's have a look at our array object. At the moment, the Z dimension is 1. So we kind of want that to be 2. So we want 2 slots. We want a 0 slot and we want a 1 slot. The 0 slot says which direction it is, so 0, 1 and 2. So that's already used for the actual graphic that we're going to be using. And the 1 position is the bit we're interested in. So let's go to Event Editor. Now the problem with this array is that it sets all the data when you affect the tile, when you click on it. So we will have to go around clicking on these things again, which I don't mind doing because we haven't spent too long on it. And what we want to do is we want to have a look here where we've created it, and we want to have a new thing. Instead of current tile type, we want naming is really difficult. Let's go back into the frame editor and let's come up with a name. So that's the current tile type, so that will be very specific. So we want current general type, and this will be a new system that says, can you walk on it, or will it stop you? Okay, let's click OK. And what we want to do is we want to figure out, so where, okay. So when you click on it, so set direction to that. And what we want to do now is also, so problem is, okay, so it's here. So when you want grass, you click 0. And so we want to also set the current general type to 0, because grass is going to be a 0, you can just walk on it. Sand is also going to be a 0, so we're going to get the triple value, set that. And the general type is going to be the same as grass. So grass and sand, exactly the same. But water, so all triple value set, the general tile type will be 1. 1 means you cannot walk on it. So it's not walkable. And then we want to, so I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to click this one. And what I'm going to do is press Control C and Control V. That's going to copy it directly below. And I'm going to double click on that one. And we don't want the current tile type stored in this one. We want the, so values, we want the current general type. And we want it in the same position because that says where it is on the map. And that says where it is on the map. And this time we want to save it to the Z index of 1. Okay. So let's run that. And what we'll need to do now, annoyingly, is go through all the tiles again. So I've clicked 2, and I'm going to go through all these tiles again to update their new thingy-bobs. So now that's, doesn't look like it's doing anything, but that's now setting the Z thing. And then I'm going to click 1, and we'll do all of the water tiles. We've got to be careful to do them all. You probably only need to do the ones around the edge, so the player won't be able to get to the other ones. So, got to make sure we do them all. But I know that if there's a problem, if the player can suddenly walk on water later on, then that problem is down to the fact that I've missed one. And so this is probably the point where you, well, we're going to redo this map probably on production. We're just using this map really for testing. This isn't necessarily going to be our final map. And that should be it. Remember, we don't need to save because the array is saved in the game file. So we just leave it as it is. And that's it. So tomorrow's episode is going to be the actual collision detection. We're going to do that all in one video. I look forward to it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.